Okay, great. Oh, sorry. Um, Hope now you can hear me. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is a very important topic, especially for us teachers, for us to understand some of the things that happen that we sort of need to prepare for and ensure that we are at our best. Yes, it's not going to happen always, but once we are aware of those things, we'll be able to sort of prepare better. So the topic is the psychology of the teacher, maladjustment, and good mental health. So for this one, we are going to be looking at maladjustment in the context of education, especially teachers. So we'll briefly discuss what maladjustment is um in teaching and how it affects teachers and what does it mean. Just a brief definition of it, and then symptoms of maladjustment. How do we recognize maladjustment? What are some of the things that we're going to see? And so it's quite lengthy, so that's where the big focus is going to be on. And then we will identify the effects. Again, how does maladjustment affect teaching and learning? So we'll be briefly looking at that. And then finally discuss how teachers can keep a good mental health. It is essential that teachers are able to find their way through and develop some level of skills to sort of cope with some of the conditions that are outside their control, just so that they don't really get affected extremely in terms of their delivery or their ability to do their job. So what is maladjustment? This is just a brief description. The failure to respond successfully and appropriately to the demands of one's environment. And the, the general description is that it can be a variety of social, biological, and psychological disorders and adaptation problems that are either inherent, internal, or exogenous, which are external. So what this means is that things that happen in life that one struggles to deal with, accept, or cope with. So it could be social, biological, or psychological. Just those changes and disorders that happen that one struggles to cope with. That is maladjustment, the inability to adjust, the inability to adapt. And what does maladjustment mean, or what is maladjustment in teachers? Maladjustment in teachers refers to frustrations at work and emotional issues on a personal level that lead to um, maladjustment. And most teachers fail to identify the root of the issue. They are more focused on their classroom routine, that they do not really acknowledge the effects of maladjustment, their morale and motivation to teach. This also affects the relationship with their students and overall performance. So when things happen um, outside the classroom, be it personal issues, be it um, management issues, be it ill discipline or lack of support within the school, these are the things that affect teachers that teachers do not really take into account when they look at their overall performance or their delivery. Because sometimes they're focused on classroom management so much, or their delivery, or getting the right content, that they don't realize that there are other things that happen that also affect their abilities, their morale, and their motivation to do the job. So these factors are those things that we teachers stress, things that happen that we are going to identify here by symptoms, that you'll be able to see that, okay, this is what it means when there's maladjustment in teachers. So I hope that you are able to understand. So here, symptoms of maladjustment, there's quite a lot. Lack of professional attitude and spirit. So here it talks briefly about people that accepted teaching just because they were not getting jobs in their desired fields. So teaching just became the next thing that they did just so that they are able to get by and make quick money. And not necessarily because they love teaching or they're passionate about it. They just did it because what's worse than unemployment? So they just went for it. But in actual fact, they don't really have the spirit for it, nor the love for it. Workload, this refers to teachers that are just overloaded with work, and it happens a lot where teachers are teaching different grades, different subjects because maybe the school does not have enough teachers. So teachers are overstretched and they work over, and it does affect their ability to do their job well. It does affect their morale as well, and it affects their health when they are overloaded with work. Here, insecurity of service. Now, this one refers to um, teachers that work in private schools. Teachers that work in private schools at times do not really have the security that teachers that are in public schools have, because their livelihood or their work security depends on enrollment and student satisfaction, and of course the parents. And if the management feels that maybe the teacher does not deliver or the teacher um, is not what they need, they could easily just get rid of the teacher. So then that causes a lot of stress, especially for those teachers in private schools, because they don't really have job security. Poor salary and its low status. So what this one talks about, it talks about how teachers are viewed in general, like in society, where because they don't really get paid much, they are not as respected. That, teachers or education is such an integral and such an important role in society because, I mean, education is like the key. And teaching is like the mother of all professions, but in terms of the payment, in terms of the reward for it, the salary, teachers are not really rewarded like that. So that alone causes teachers to not really be seen as important people within society. So that causes that low self-confidence, that low self-concept, and ultimately maladjustment. Here, lack of recreational facilities where teachers are bombarded with a lot of work, low pay, but there's not really a lot of facilities for them to sort of relax, rejuvenate within the system. That's just not designed like that. So that also adds a lot of, it just makes the job dull and boring for them. So a lot of disinterest as well. And then number 6, low physical health. When you are physically exhausted from a lot of work, a lack of recreational activities and facilities and low status and poor salary, it does take a toll on your physical health, thus your mental health. When you experience a lot of stress, you do get sick eventually. And that's what happens when teachers are really overextending themselves and overloaded with work. Maltreatment of management. So here it refers to how teachers could be mistreated by the management of the school, and especially if there's no the relationship between the SGB and the school and there's just not a good relationship, it does affect teachers. If the management of the school is not good, it trickles down to the teachers. And at times, especially for the private schools, if the management of the school does not care for its teachers and they place a lot of expectations on teachers, a lot of workload on teachers, and they're focused on just profit that they make from enrollment, it does affect teachers. It does affect teachers greatly. So that's what it is there at number 7. And then number 8, high moral expectations. Teachers are often expected to behave like an ideal exemplary by the society, but this is not possible because of the high complexities of the fast-moving society. And it's natural that evils of society may affect our personality naturally in course of time. Failure to rise up to the expectations of the society creates frustration and conflicts in the mind of the teacher, which results in maladjustment. Out of all the things that happen, also the expectations that teachers don't make mistakes, that teachers are perfect people, and just that expectation, it does affect the teacher's well-being and cause a lot of frustration. Now let's look at number 9, unhealthy interpersonal relationships amongst teachers. Interpersonal conflict and tensions among teachers is at peak due to the increasing number of professional organizations. Here we're having people that belong to SATU and other organizations. Sometimes they don't agree on what it is that they want for teachers, and just the organizational politics of it all, creating just the divisions because they have different ideologies, and that affects a lot of the relationships that teachers are ought to have at school level. And also the harmony and cooperation also, because when teachers have to cooperate a lot, teachers have to share ideas, and if they don't agree in terms of the what is that vision of it all, it does happen that they will have a lot of conflict as opposed to peace, a lot of tension as well, and that makes it difficult to cooperate, and it affects the classroom environment a lot. And this one, lack of facilities, poor school plan, ill-equipped classrooms, faulty time schedule, lack of library and laboratories, shortage, and also shortage of teaching aids creates unnecessary stress and straining teachers. This one is so sad because as much as some teachers don't earn a lot, I've seen instances where teachers use their own money to buy teaching aids because schools are not equipped, schools don't have resources. So teachers resort to using their own money. And also, where schools don't have, especially laboratories, teachers are not able to deliver their lessons accordingly. They're not able to plan the content. They always have to find ways, and that causes stress because they have to sometimes omit certain content because they don't have the equipment for the students to be able to experiment, which is rather sad. And also when schools don't have the right technology, it does affect teaching. It does affect the teachers' morale and motivation because they don't have the resources to deliver their lessons at their best. So now, having looked at all of this effects of maladjustment, now we're going to look at how we looked at the symptoms. Now we're going to look at the effect of Maladjustment. How does it affect teaching and learning? Well, maladjusted teachers may have lower levels of emotional stability, self-confidence, social skills, and it does trickle down to the classroom, their classroom management, their instructional effectiveness, and rapport with students. So when teachers experience a lot of emotional instability, a lot of stress and self-confidence, they're not able to be stern in the classroom. They're not able to apply themselves fully. They're not able to manage the classroom and the dynamics thereof. Especially teachers that deal with a lot of mixed students where mixed learning days, and they have to have that sense of awareness and know how to adjust their classrooms accordingly. They are not able to do so because they don't have the emotional stability. Maladjusted teachers may also have high levels of stress, frustration, and burnout, which can impair their physical and mental health and reduce their motivation or commitment to teaching. This is so true. That is why most statistics have said that a lot of times teachers they don't go over 5 years because they're burnt out from load. They're underpaid, a lot of expectation, and it does really affect their commitment to teaching. And here, let's look at the students. Maladjusted students may also have lower levels of academic achievement, engagement, and self-regulation, which can affect their learning, excuse me, outcomes, interests, and goals. When students, if the teacher's not able to deliver their lessons, apply themselves, they are not as committed, it boils down to the students. Students are not able to be excited about the class, be excited about the lessons, participate in the healthy competition created by the teacher, because it won't even be there. They're just their entire morale and the desire to learn will just not be there. And a lot of times it creates a very chaotic and mismanaged classroom environment. Therefore, maladjustment can have negative consequences for both teachers and students in terms of their personal and professional development. It is important to identify the causes and symptoms of maladjustment and to provide appropriate interventions and support to help them overcome their difficulties and enhance their adjustment. So let us look at how what interventions can be given and the support. There are many solutions out there. There are many alternatives out there, but I took two which I felt required easy, sort of practical. Therapy. Therapy is so important, not just for teachers, but just for students and everyone. It is important to seek professional help, seek a professional mental health practitioner to help understand your internal issues and help you find ways to cope with stress, to help cope with maladjustment. To help cope with adjusting to life's changes, to help cope with improving self-esteem, self-confidence, and having to deal with different life dynamics. So as expensive as therapy is, I think it's important that a system is employed where teachers are able to afford therapy, students as well, even if it means a school having a mental health practitioner to being easily accessible and available. This is very important. It needs to happen, especially because we're dealing with students from different backgrounds, different learning needs, different mental health issues. It is so important that schools have a mental health practitioner to assist both the teachers and the learners. Self-help groups, these are groups of people who share similar experiences and challenges related to maladjustment. Self-help groups can provide emotional support, practical advice, and a sense of belonging and hope. Self-help groups can be found online or in person through various organizations and communities. this one, I find it to be so practical, especially in instances where there are rural schools that don't have resources. Then teachers can come together, create groups where they can have recreational activities, talk about their issues, and also find ways that they can cope with the different stresses that they are faced with. So I find that groups to be very, very practical, that they can be done by anyone from anywhere, coming together to ensure that they find ways to keep teachers motivated, to keep teachers supported. So these are quite important. With that said, happy teachers plus happy students equals happy schools. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this really important subject. And yeah, thank you. As a way, we're going to end.